You've heard it said time and time again, defense wins championships. There's a lot of truth to this statement, and that's why the lateral resistor is such an important training tool. The product consists of two padded ankle cuffs connected by a flexible rubber tube. The product is designed to strengthen the muscles responsible for lateral movement and designed to teach athletes proper technique for defensive positioning. By mixing this product into your training, you will develop smothering defensive skills and will make it extremely difficult for your opponent to put points on the scoreboard. Since this product is primarily a device used to train lateral speed, it is important that an athlete first understand the proper mechanics for moving laterally. When moving laterally, the athlete should always be in a low, flat back position. Staying low by bending at the knees and waist will keep the athlete's center of gravity in the right place for changing direction. The athlete's feet should always be positioned shoulder width or wider. This positioning will allow movement to the right or left at any time. Conversely, as soon as an athlete's feet move inside his shoulders, he is far less powerful in his lateral movements and often completely unable to push to his left or right. As an athlete moves laterally, the trail foot pushes against the ground and the lead foot pulls against the ground. This combination of these two motions results in the quickest, most efficient lateral movement. Also notice that proper lateral movement requires that one foot always be kept on the ground. As long as one foot is in contact with the ground, the athlete can redirect his movement. If an athlete begins hopping in his lateral movement, then there will be times that the athlete's body is completely airborne and thus helpless in reacting to subsequent changes in movement by his opponent. In this first and most basic drill, the athlete simply covers a predetermined distance while using proper lateral movement technique and wearing the lateral resistor. A variation of the last drill is for the athlete to slide laterally and then change direction when a coach or training partner gives a verbal command. The athlete should use proper lateral movement technique and slide in one direction until the coach says switch. The athlete must react off this command and begin sliding in the opposite direction. The change in direction causes the athlete to efficiently reverse the roles of his feet. The trail leg that was pushing now begins pulling as the lead leg, and vice versa. The athlete should focus on reacting to the coach's command and not jump the gun by guessing at when the command will be given. Back stabs are performed the same way as front stabs, except that the athlete moves in reverse. This version of the drill also requires more hip movement than front stabs. Here, each step also involves the athlete quickly and fluidly opening his or her hips and shoulders in the direction of each step. This type movement mimics a defensive athlete who is giving a little ground before digging back in to slide and mirror the advancing offensive player. As mentioned, defensive play is primarily characterized by lateral movement. However, running a close second is an athlete's ability to quickly step at 45-degree angles. Oftentimes, it is a quick first step that puts an athlete in a position to slide laterally and mirror the movements of an offensive player. Front stabs isolate the 45-degree step. The athlete should begin in an athletic position with knees bent, shoulders over the knees, back flat, and weight on the balls of the feet. Each step should be 2 to 3 feet in length and at a 45-degree angle. The athlete must make each lead step as quick and as powerful as possible to overcome the resistance of the flexicord. Once the lead foot has come back into contact with the ground, the trail leg then snaps beside the lead leg to put the athlete back in the starting position. The athlete then repeats the motion in the other direction with each leg reversing in its respective role. Because the resistor is a device that overloads the lower body with resistance and assistance, it is important that a contrasting free repetition be performed next. Backstabs can also have an extra step added to create double backstabs. Again, an excellent technique is to have a coach or training partner command the athlete to switch back and forth between the motions of backstabs and double backstabs during a set. Such a technique teaches athletes to adopt proper lateral defensive positioning as second nature, while they focus on the separate task of reacting to the commands of the coach. Everyone has played the game of dodgeball. It's pretty simple. Someone throws balls at you and you try not to get hit. This classic game can be enhanced by strapping a resistor around the ankles of the athlete. Here we have two cones spaced about 4 to 5 yards apart and an athlete placed in the middle. A coach or training partner with a dozen tennis balls is placed 4 to 5 yards in front of the athlete. The coach initiates the drill by quickly throwing the tennis balls between the cones. The athlete may move between the two cones using only proper lateral movement technique. The athlete's goal is first to prevent the balls from hitting his feet, and second, if possible, to move so the balls pass between his feet. After playing a few games of dodgeball, the athlete's hips will be burning from fighting the resistance of the flexicord. W-slides are designed to combine lateral movement and change of direction. This drill is set up by placing a series of cones in a W configuration with 3 to 4 yards of separation between each cone. The athlete begins at the first cone in the series and slides laterally around each of the cones. The goal is for the athlete to maintain proper push-pull lateral mechanics and to change direction as quickly as possible at each cone. The formation of the cones also requires that the athlete pivot off the plant foot at each cone and snap his or her hips and shoulders around in line with the next cone. After the athlete has performed a set of W-slides, it is recommended that the resistor be removed and a free set of W-slides be performed. The technique of following up a resisted movement with a free one is known as contrast training, and it is a common theme throughout all forms of speed development. The idea is to teach the athlete to perfectly perform while conditions are continuously changing. Many of the drills on this video have focused on the importance of sliding laterally as it applies to athletes playing defense. However, the ability to slide linearly is also a key component to great defensive play. A linear slide works the same way as a lateral slide, except for a few small adjustments. The trail leg still pushes and the lead leg still pulls. Unlike lateral sliding, where the outside of the feet is primarily in contact with the ground, linear sliding places more emphasis on the front part of the feet. For this drill, you will arrange a series of cones in a W configuration with about 2 to 3 yards of separation between each cone. Rather than starting in a lateral stance, the athlete will begin in a split, linear stance with 1 foot positioned in front of the hips and 1 foot behind the hips. Both feet should be within the framework of the shoulders. The athlete then uses proper linear slide technique to move around each cone as demonstrated here. Hopscotch is a fast, explosive drill that can be performed with a lateral resistor. This exercise targets rhythm, first step quickness, and hip strength. In this demonstration, the athlete begins in an athletic stance with the body weight on the front of the feet. The athlete then hops forward and lands with feet split as wide apart as possible, and then hops forward again with feet returning to their starting position. This motion is then repeated until all required repetitions have been performed. Similar to other drills on this video, the athlete should aim to stay low to the ground and avoid rising to an upright stance. This drill begins by using cones to construct 2 circles that are 2 to 3 yards wide. The athlete begins at the top of one of the circles and faces towards its center. The athlete then uses lateral slide mechanics to navigate the outside of the first circle. At the intersection of the 2 circles, the athlete transitions from facing the center of the first circle to facing away from the center of the second circle. The unique transition made at the intersection is the most important part of the drill, and the athlete should be especially focused on making it smooth and fluid. Also, because of the tighter pathways used in this drill as compared to the last, the athlete's lateral strides tend to be slightly shorter and quicker. Line hops train knee lift, lateral quickness, and balance all in one drill. The athlete simply hops over a line by firing the knee closest to the line up towards the chest, thus placing flexicord in a fully stretched position. The trail leg then follows the path of the lead leg, and the athlete lands and balances on the lead leg. Now on the other side of the line, the athlete should be standing on one leg, ready to fire back in the opposite direction. The athlete should focus on getting a maximum stretch between the ankles, the height of each hop, and sticking a perfectly balanced landing on each foot. Line hops can be enhanced by adding cones or hurdles to create more of an obstacle. Also, a coach or training partner can toss the athlete balls from his or her particular sport to force further concentration and coordination.